Man walks 40 miles to work, until one day a cop follows him and sees why. Walter, a young student who had just moved to Philadelphia with his mother, desperately needed a job to help her pay the bills. He found work at a moving company, but there was one major problem. The job was 40 miles away. Walter had a car, but the day before his first shift, his vehicle broke down. Frustrated, he stood next to his old car, which had come to a halt in the middle of the road. Smoke billowed from the hood, and with each passing second, his stress mounted. Tomorrow was supposed to be his first day at the moving company, his chance to build a better life for himself and his mother. But now, it felt like the universe was working against him. With no money for repairs or a taxi, Walter realized he had only one option. He had to walk 40 miles. The mere thought made him take a deep breath, but he knew he had no choice. With a bottle of water and his backpack slung over his shoulders, Walter began his long journey through the dark streets of Philadelphia. The city was still asleep, with only the distant hum of cars and scattered streetlights keeping him company. His footsteps echoed on the pavement as he kept telling himself, "I can do this. I have to do this." The journey was long, and with every mile he felt his muscles tightening. But the fear of losing his new job pushed him forward. Hours passed and the sky slowly brightened, but Walter's body started to betray him. His legs felt like lead, and his feet burned with pain. He still had more than 20 miles to go, yet every step became more grueling. Stopping briefly, he leaned against a streetlight, breathing deeply. The temptation to sit down and give up was overwhelming, but the thought of his family and the promise he had made to himself kept him moving. As he pushed forward, he noticed a car driving slowly beside him. His heartbeat quickened when he realized it was a police car. Walter lowered his gaze, trying not to look nervous, but the officer wasn't going away. Moments later, the siren blared, a short, sharp sound that instantly cut through Walter's exhaustion. With his heart pounding, he turned around and watched as the patrol car came to a stop. What did the officer want from him? Walter felt exhaustion in every muscle as he heard the quiet rolling of the police car behind him. A sense of unease crept over him. Hopefully this won't turn into a problem, he thought, trying to maintain his pace. But then the car's lights flashed briefly, and the siren let out a short, sharp sound. Walter stopped, took a deep breath, and slowly turned around. The officer stepped out of the car, eyed him critically, and asked, "What are you doing out here at this hour?" Walter swallowed hard, then explained his situation in as few words as possible. His car had broken down. It was his first day at work, and he had no choice but to walk the entire distance. The officer, an older man with a serious expression, listened intently. When Walter finished, the policeman furrowed his brow as if struggling to believe what he had just heard. Then he slowly shook his head. 40 miles? On foot? That's insane, he muttered. But his eyes no longer showed suspicion, only amazement. After a brief pause, the officer gestured toward his car. "Get in," he said firmly. Walter hesitated for a moment. He didn't want to appear as if he were asking for a favor or being a burden, but the exhaustion in his legs left him with no other choice. With a grateful nod, he opened the door and sank into the passenger seat. As the police car drove into the night, Walter stared out the window, barely able to believe that his journey had just taken a completely unexpected turn. During the ride, Walter and the officer talked. The policeman asked many questions, listened attentively, and could barely hide his admiration. "You're really determined, aren't you?" he finally said, shaking his head. Walter shrugged. "I need the job," he replied simply. The officer nodded in approval. When they finally arrived at Walter's workplace, Walter got out, thanked him politely, and prepared for his first day on the job. But the officer wasn't going to let this story end there. Impressed by Walter's relentless dedication, the policeman began sharing the story, first with his colleagues, then with his family, and eventually with the media. The news spread rapidly. Walter's supervisor soon learned about the incredible journey and was deeply moved. He told the rest of the staff, and soon Walter's co-workers started gathering donations to support him. Everyone wanted to contribute to help him out. When Walter stepped outside after his shift, a surprise was waiting for him. His boss stood in front of him with a broad smile, holding an envelope in his hand. "This is for you, Walter. You've earned it." Confused, Walter opened the envelope and saw a substantial amount of money inside, enough to repair his broken car. But that wasn't all. The outpouring of support from the community was about to change his life in ways he never could have imagined. Walter's story of unwavering dedication spread like wildfire across social media. Thousands of people from all over America expressed their admiration and wanted to help. A fundraising campaign was launched, and within days, the community raised an astonishing amount, far more than was needed to repair Walter's car. People were deeply moved by his determination and saw him as a symbol of perseverance and hard work. Walter's mother was brought to tears when he showed her the envelope. It meant they could finally pay their bills and even afford something extra. But the biggest surprise was yet to come. A few days later, Walter was called into his boss's office. Waiting there for him was none other than the company's CEO. With a wide smile, he handed Walter a set of car keys. "We are truly impressed by your determination, and we want to make sure you can get to work without worries," he said. Walter could hardly believe it. Outside the building stood a brand new car, and it was his. Overwhelmed with emotion, he fought back tears and could only manage a soft "thank you." From that day on, Walter's life changed dramatically. Not only did he now have a reliable way to get to work, but he also had an entire community that supported and believed in him. His story became a symbol of resilience and relentless dedication. As he drove home in his new car that evening, Walter knew that every step of his exhausting journey had been worth it, not just for himself, but as an inspiration for so many others. Walter's story reminds us that hard work, determination, and the will to never give up can take us further than we ever imagined. Sometimes all it takes is a single act of kindness to change a person's life, and maybe even the world around them. If this story touched you, leave a like and share it with your family and friends. Tell us in the comments what you think of Walter's incredible dedication. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another inspiring story. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.